Final Fantasy XIV in 2024. I had a mission to open up Final Fantasy XIV and play it for the first time in a while in 2024. What's changed? How's the new player experience? Am I going to like it as much as I did last time? We'll find out as I'll talk through my experience and show some in-game footage of me playing the actual game. Hope you enjoy. Right off the back, I'd like to make mention to the MOG station. Probably the most difficult and annoying part of the process of playing Final Fantasy XIV. Whether you're a returning player or a new player, the startup process to make an account or log into the account is somewhat frustrating. You can be hit with a million prompts to say that your account is suspicious and you need to reset the password. You can probably forget your username or the email and have to request a login access token again, which sometimes just never arrives in your inbox. This time I was lucky. Last time I was not so lucky. I had to wait days before I got an access token, which was expired. Funny things aside, MOG Station does have some cool things and some cool features, allowing you to buy time to play the game in multiple different ways. There has been an error recently where the time has been sold out, but they're working on this and hopefully there's a fix soon. I hope the MOG Station gets some love soon because it is the most deterring point for any new player or returning player. You should also be aware that when you're downloading the game, it can be quite a slow process despite what internet speed you might be having. But once you've got the game loaded, logging in seems pretty seamless. Use a password, log in through your Steam version or through your in-game version, and access the main menu. Main menu is quite magical. Dependent on the version of the game, you'll have a different backdrop, and you'll have some nice beautiful music playing in the background. Starting the game, you'll be able to see a glorious cutscene. Some of the footage I've been showing here in the background. It details the story before Final Fantasy XIV's glory days. Back in the day, there was a Final Fantasy XIV, and it kind of came to an end pretty quickly soon after it started. This opening credit scene is a bit of an ode to that game, and it's quite touching. Here's where some of the magic happens, the character creation screen. This is where you can choose yourself a world. There's plenty of servers now. 2024, you've got spaces for everything. There's even an OCE server. The Aussies and New Zealand people in the chat. Hello. I decided to make a character on the NA server in Aether. Had it made over there. Thought it was a cool place to join, and I hadn't created a character there before. I teed up between a few different races to choose from. You got plenty, kind of all walks of life to tickle anyone's fancy, and I ended up setting myself on making myself a bunny boy, which you'll see here soon. There's not too many changes to the aesthetic look of your characters since I last played, which was maybe a few years ago. There's still plenty of options to really give your character a personal touch or, create something that's pretty bland. It's really up to you. The character creation screen is there for anyone to pick up the game and play and be as creative as they possibly like. That's the beauty of it. It's there for all walks of life, and you'll find yourself pretty happy with whatever you create. It's still very much a being Skyrim'd moment with the Final Fantasy XIV intro. And your journey in a little caravan on the way to your starting town, dependent on the class that you pick. Nothing's changed here, and I don't think it needs to. It still has a nice little touch to it, and kind of a welcoming experience for new players to hop in and go through for the first time. Even as a returning player, I didn't feel disjointed or angry about it. It felt almost nostalgic in a way. One thing that probably does need to change after all this time is the option to skip the starting tutorial. There are people who have made numerous characters. They don't need to experience this again for the 15th time, the 14th time. Anyways, the tutorial is pretty good. Gives you a good understanding of the keybinds and basic functions of the game, how to walk, pan the camera, interact with NPCs, etc. And overall, I think it's still pretty good for the new player to hop in and go through. For a returning player, you should definitely have an option to skip this if you're familiar with the game. A lot of NPCs are still unvoiced, and that's okay. This was back in the day when this was still wildly the norm. And Final Fantasy XIV was breaking the norm at this point by having fully voiced scenes in a big way, in long moments, much more than any other MMO out there. The closest comparative would be World of Warcraft, which, when it first came out, there was not a lot, only in the big moments. Final Fantasy XIV, from a starting point of view, feels like this could get, a bit of a retouch, especially for newer players coming in. Might feel a little bit dated, but overall, I think it's a pretty good experience. Getting to the Aetheryte Stones throughout the realm is still a cool experience for the new player to walk around, familiarize themselves with their settings, and reward themselves ultimately by finding each Aether point, which at that point you can then teleport around, move around a lot more freely, but it encourages the player to explore where they are in a lot more depth and get an understanding where all the NPCs might be, and the tiny little details of the game. People that design the water, the grass follicles, what have you, the little things. It's nice to stop and smell the roses, so to speak. Questing can be as simple as taking every single quest you come across and experiencing the game in all of its glory. Or if you're like a returning Andy like myself and just doing the main quest to move along as quickly as possible and linking up with one of my friends along the way. It's a good experience. You can get through the game mostly just by doing the main story and hunting quests. But you also have the option of, exploring things a little bit further, talking to all the NPCs, finding out little stories, and gaining little extra items along the way. It's rewarding for the casual player, long-term player, and the speedrunner of the group. You can see here I did definitely change my hotbars around a little bit. I'd encourage any returning player to spend that extra time to finally adjust your settings once you get to this point. Fix up and tweak your hotbars, even for the new player. It's a good moment to stop, look up some hotbar options. Plenty of YouTube videos out there to really demonstrate that. I might pop some links in the description for everybody to have a look over, some recommendations. But it's good to stop and set it up to make sure it suits your playstyle accordingly. As you can see, we're jumping straight into killing some monsters, doing some hunting quests, and doing our archery quest. This is a good spot just to learn the basics of the combat if you're a new player to the game. But as a returning player, it might even be better just to party up with someone and go through this and do it as quickly as possible. I myself, it's been a hot minute, and I chose archery, which I hadn't done before, so I was just playing around with the little combo that I had access to and just enjoying myself, really. It's been a hot minute since I just played a game for playing a game. I feel access to inventory as a returning player hasn't really improved. The same to accessing your armor and inventory screens, and having a big level of customization or ease of customization. The preferred equipment is still okay. It seems to detect most things that can be upgraded or improved on. But it'd be nice to see this refreshed in the future. But even for a new player coming on in, it's pretty quick to understand how it all works and the concept is there. I definitely think it deserves a bit of TLC in the future. The main story quest still is super fun to this day. As a returning player, and I feel like as a new player, you'll have a real wow moment doing this. Hearing some voices done completion, the graphics itself, seeing a character, enamored by the other NPCs in the game, really truly still feels like you are the story. And it connects you with these people quite quickly. Enemies look super cool spawning on in, and creates a awesome sense of the world. You quickly get drawn into battle, and you got to learn very quick or you're gonna sink. The game does warn you of the level requirement. It's super nice, especially for someone that's brand new to this. If you're someone like myself that's a returning player, you're kind of prepared for this moment, and you kind of know what to do. It's a shame that this section right here on the screen, it doesn't pause for a second to let you know the strategy involved. You're kind of learning things on the fly, which works for some, but you should have an option to kind of go over another bit of a tutorial here to demonstrate like what a boss looks like, what its minions look like, what a party looks like. I feel like this is kind of missed in this section. But yeah, overall, it's still pretty good. Returning player, I knew what to do. Maybe as a new player, not so welcoming, but look, you got to sink or swim with these types of games and learn pretty quickly, or you're going to be left in the dust. And this is where I'm going to leave off for today. I'm going to do a follow-up to this series and as I play along with the game. If you guys have enjoyed it so far. Final Fantasy XIV is a great game, even as a returning player like myself. I felt pretty enamored with the world. I had a sense of familiarity, but I had also forgotten the small little things at the start of the game. It was nice to experience it once again. I hope you guys enjoyed the series. Please let me know if I should cover off anything else in the next video or so. Like if you like, dislike if you don't dislike, if you didn't like this, and consider a subscribe if you like. Really appreciate your time. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. This is Condi TV. Peace.